I have been asked to show how to create baseboards and I don't know, chair rails and maybe crown moldings for an interior room. So I've got a simple room here, just an L-shaped configuration, consisting of walls, a ceiling, and a floor. And I'll go ahead and show you how you can utilize the wall tools to create, in addition to the wall, these sweeps they're called, to create these elements. In order to do this, it would really be beneficial to be able to see what my building looks like on the inside. So I'm going to go over to my properties quickly and turn on my section box and zoom out and take my section box and shrink this so I can only see, whoops, need to see a little bit of the building. All I really want to see is just about that much for now. And I'll go ahead and create the wall sweep around this now for the baseboard first. So it's under the wall tools, and the reason why is because this actually is an element that, unlike say a sweep, if you were to do a sweep by a component in place, you would have to physically cut the openings for the doors and windows. And in this case, because it's part of the wall, we won't have to do that. They'll automatically stop and start at the door and window openings. So I'm going to go ahead and go down here to a wall sweep. And I'm going to go ahead and first notice that it's asking me on my ribbon if I want to do a horizontal or a vertical sweep. And vertical sweeps could be really useful, say, if you're doing board and batten sidings and you wanted to actually put some battens on a wall. That could be a way of doing that. You can actually copy them and displace them a certain amount pretty easily. So that's one option you can have here. But in this case, we want to do a horizontal one. So I'm going to select horizontal here. Then you'll notice that there's a type here for my type selector that's already selected. I'm going to go ahead and edit this type just because I don't want to stick with the default one. I want to make my own. So I'm going to duplicate this and I'm just going to call it my wall base 1 maybe. You might have multiple baseboard types in a house, so I'm just going to say wall base 1. Click OK, and then you'll notice that there's a profile here that is chosen for this. That was because the prior one, the cornice, had one that was using a cornice molding. So I'm going to drop this down, and you can see that this default template, which is the residential default template here, came with some preloaded profiles already. And these are just standard 2D profiles, and you could create your own with the family editor just by creating a new profile. I'm going to go ahead and just pick this maybe 7 1/4 base just so we can see it, and it's 5/8 of an inch thick. Here's where we could actually put in a material for this as well if we wanted to. I'm just going to bypass that. Click OK. And now you can see, depending upon what wall I place, it's actually going to place this baseboard for me. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this wall. And if I zoom in here, you can see that it's kind of snapping to the end of the wall. It knows that that's the bottom of the wall. So if I want to, I can simply click here now and then move around and click on these other walls. And you can see that as I do this, it's actually adding that baseboard. Let me orbit around here. It's actually adding the baseboard as I click on the wall. You'll notice when it comes to a doorway here, it actually stops the baseboard on both sides of the doorway as well as it will on this wall. So now you can see, I'll click out in the middle of nowhere, now you can see I have this baseboard here. Now be aware, once you have the baseboard here, you can in fact make adjustments to it. You will notice that when you click on it, there's a little blue circle here. I can take that blue circle and drag it if I want to so that it aligns with the edge of my trim so that it doesn't overlap, if that's critical to me, overlap with the door opening trim as well. So that's how you basically do a floor baseboard or a wall baseboard. Really simple. Just use the wall sweep tool and it will cut the openings for you. If you were to approach this as a model in place component, you could do this as a sweep by picking the edge of the floor or the edge of the wall, I suppose, or sketch your own path as well instead of picking a 3D path. However, you'd have to do separate sweeps for each part, or you would have to use a void extrusion to cut away the part for the door trim in this case, in the door openings. So it's nice to use that particular feature for that. You can see this is in fact a detailed, some sort of a decorative top edge on this base as well. Um, don't worry too much about the height of it. If you get the height wrong, don't panic. You can always adjust it later, and I'll show you how that's done in just a moment. But for now, let's go ahead and use the same technique for doing the top crown molding. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to create another, go back to wall. I'm going to go back to wall sweep again. I don't want to change this one, so I'm going to edit type, duplicate, and I'm going to call this one wall crown molding. And for the profile, I'm going to drop this down and see what's available. I can see that there is no crown molding in here. So what I'm going to do is just click OK to this. I'm going to stop what I'm doing here. I'm going to go to my insert. I'm going to go to load family. And I'm going to look down in here for profiles. So if I double click profiles, you can see here all the different categories of profiles. And in this case, I want finished carpentry. Inside of here, there's some additional crowns. I'll just select them all. You can see a preview here of what that crown's going to look like. I'll just load them all. And while I'm here, let me get a, let me see if I can find a, yeah, I'll grab this casing profile to show you how you do a chair rail too. So let me grab all of these. So I've got all of those different profiles loaded into here now. So let me go ahead and work on the crown molding first. I'm not even going to bother yet adjusting the height of my wall. So don't worry about the fact that I'm making my crown molding too low. It's very easy to adjust it, as you'll see in a moment. So now that they're loaded, I'm going to go back to my wall tools, over to wall sweep, and it's going to be a horizontal one again. I'm going to go ahead and click this down, and there is my crown molding that I had previously started, even though I hadn't used it yet. And uh-oh, Revit's stuck. Let's go back here. Sweep, crown molding, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and click just to place one for now, just because Revit's not being cooperative. So what I want to do here is fix this before I go much further. So I'm going to click Edit Type now that I've got it selected, and then I'm going to go into the profile. I'm going to drop this down, and here you can see are those case and crown moldings I just brought in. So I'll grab this crown here, which is a 4.5-inch crown. Click Apply and OK. You can see it will automatically update this one for me. And then once I've got this drawn on one location, you can always go back and add or remove segments to it, just like you can with gutters on roof elements. So I'm going to go up here, and you'll notice there's an add or remove walls here. So I'm going to go back here and add this wall, add this wall, add this wall, orbit around, just because I like to see what I'm doing. Orbit around and pick this wall. Okay, so now you can see I have a crown molding all the way around the room. You'll notice it's being cut by the doors, right? Just like the baseboard was as well. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to actually do one more while I'm here. I'll do a chair rail. So let me go ahead and do the same process again. We'll go back to wall sweep. By the way, a reveal, you'll notice the other option there is to do a reveal. A reveal, instead of popping out or being proud of the wall, is actually cut into the wall. It's a negative void form that's swept along the edge of the wall. That's more common in commercial applications, where they might, say for tilt-up concrete walls or something, they might put forms in the decorative elements in the forms for the concrete walls to give them some ornamentation or relief, literally. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to wall sweep. I'm going to click Edit Type. I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to call this one wall chair rail. Click OK. And I'm going to pick a different molding for this one. So let's get this casing profile here. I think that's what I wanted. We'll find out in a moment. Yeah, that's going to be fine, I think. So I'm just going to plop it down here for now. And then come around here, put it on this wall. And I'm just picking on the inside edge of the wall that's visible. Put it on this wall, put it on this wall, and put it on this wall. And that should take care of all of them. Okay, so now I've got these three sweeps that are running contiguously around my room. Now I'm going to adjust them so that they're the correct height. So what I'm going to do is, you can of course simply select them, and then you will notice there's an offset level here. So if you happen to know what the height is for that, you can do that. However, it's always a puzzle to me in terms of what's really going on. So I think it's much, is it measuring from the top or from the bottom, or where I click my mouse, where's it measuring from? So to me, it's always easier just to go to a section view or an interior elevation. So if I go to a section view, you can see that here in fact is my baseboard, and you can see there's the actual profile. Let me switch to thick line so you can see that, and change to a scale that would be easier to see this at. Let's try this. There you go. Let's go even bigger just so you can really see this. Let's try 3 inches to a foot. There you can see is the profile on the floor. There's the chair rail I picked, and here's the crown molding. So now it's just a matter of moving these into place. And remember, this is one complete object. And you can, by the way, flip the directions on these if you wanted to, using these flip arrows here. But in this case, I simply want to move. So I'm going to say move this crown molding, and I'll just pick this edge here, and I'll just drag it straight up, and then I'm just going to move straight up to my ceiling edge. So now you can see I placed that in the ceiling. You can, if you wanted to, I'll just drag it down. You could leave a space here if you were going to put some cove lighting in here or something like that. You can also use the align tool. So if you align and lock it, which is the preferred way of doing it, then you would have the crown molding move automatically should you change the ceiling height as well. So that's probably a good way to do that one. And then this one here, you can see, if I take a look here, you can see there's a temporary dimension here of 1 foot 2 inches. That looks like the witness line is probably going to, I can't tell, so what I'm going to do is put a dimension on it. From the floor up to the top of that is a height of 1 foot 6.5 inches. So that 1 foot 2 inches had to have been to this point here, the bottom of the chair rail. That's good to know. I would typically dimension that probably to the top of the chair rail, because that's where you might want to say, I really want this to be maybe 4 feet. So you can now click on this dimension here and change that to 4 feet. And now you can see the chair rail actually goes up and through the windows as well. Notice that the window opening cuts this chair rail. However, again, the opening itself, the hole that's being made by this window template, actually is lined up with this edge right here on the object. This trim is applied over it. So you'd want to grab these corners here and move them to the outside edge so you don't have any disruptions or any kind of weird peculiar behavior happening there between those. And you can do that on each one of these very quickly. It's easiest to do this from either a section view or an interior elevation. Either one of those is fine. So at any rate, if I wanted to do it from an interior elevation view, it might be easier. Let me cancel that. I'll go up to my view. I will go to my elevation, and I'll go ahead and drop this in the middle of the room, and I'm intentionally putting it on the larger side of the room. And then I'm going to select the square and turn on all of my elevations. Oops, didn't need to catch the floor there. Now if I go to this elevation, I can click on this one, pull it back. Oh, do I have two? What is that one? Oh, that's where I was goofing around, I believe. Yeah, that's probably where I was goofing around. And put one on there, didn't get rid of it. So let me delete that one. Grab this, pull it back to here. Grab this, pull it back to here. When you want to work accurately, I highly recommend you actually switch to your interior elevation views. It's just so much easier to adjust things when you're in a non-three-dimensional view. Revit likes it better. It's just easier to move and adjust, and really you want to dimension in orthogonal views anyway. You don't really want to try to do that kind of stuff in a three-dimensional view. See, what else do I got here? This one here. That takes care of that. Go back to my first floor plan. Let's see, have I done this one? Yeah, that's the first one I did. Back to my first floor plan, and then lastly, probably this elevation. That one looks like maybe, you'll notice this one obviously has a thicker trim on it. Actually, that's the wrong side of the door there, I believe. But nevertheless, we can fix these up real quickly. So that didn't take too long. And so now if I go to my first floor plan And if I drop a camera in here, let's do that. Go over to View, 3D Views, Camera. I'll drop one in the corner looking this way, just so we can see a few walls. You can see that now this room has baseboard, chair rail, and the other as well, the crown molding as well. So that's basically how you do that sort of a thing. You could do, I suppose, if you had, say, raised panels on here, you could put a vertical one of these in as well if you wanted to some extent, or a smaller one if you wanted to break this lower wainscot up into smaller wood panels or something like that. But that I'd probably handle differently. But anyway, that's how you work with wall sweeps when it comes to doing interior molding, the linear molding along the lengths of walls.